Hello everyone, what is up? It is me, Ewan from What Culture Comics again, joined by Zoe.
Still Zoe.
To talk about one of the darkest things that we've potentially seen in a comic in a very long time, and that's some big statements because we've actually read a lot of comics that are intentionally dark, that still aren't as dark as this week's Fantastic Four number 13, which kind of promises the throwdown between the Hulk and the Thing, which Marvel seem to love pitting them against each other all the time, even though I kind of think the Hulk's probably got that fight sorted, even though the Thing is a strong boy, but the Hulk, he's the Hulk. But in this comic, the Thing actually beats the Hulk, which is really, really interesting. But that somehow isn't the most important revelation from this week's issue. The most important revelation is that what lies beneath the Thing's stony exterior is really something quite horrifying. I've got a picture here, and it's just... the best way I can describe it is like some sort of bulbousy flesh muscle thing.
I mean, that might be why they call him the Thing.
Yeah, and it just kind of really stuck out to me because if you go on Screen Rant, I have a really interesting article about the kind of the first time we saw the Thing basically lose his stone and what it looked like underneath that, and that was during an encounter with Wolverine. Wolverine basically uses adamantium claws to slice the top layer of his rock off. And to be honest, it's never really been something I've really considered. I've always just thought, oh, the Thing's just all rocks, isn't he? He's all rocks. And then I didn't really question the anatomy of it and thinking, oh wait, no, he would just die if he was literally all rocks. He still needs vital organs, he still needs blood, he still needs all of that. That would make sense if he was just all rocks. I genuinely thought, and this is me being a complete idiot, I genuinely thought the rocks went all the way through.
I thought his organs were rocks.
Yeah, I
I'm
thought
going to be
they were
honest.
rocks as well, which, again, I've only just realised that that's stupid. Why would they all be rocks? That makes no sense whatsoever. But yeah, basically him and the Hulk have a throwdown, and you think it's going to go the way it usually goes with these fights, that the Hulk's going to prevail, and the Thing's going to be like, well, damn, I guess I won't do that again, and then he only does it 10 or 20 years afterwards and never learns his lesson. But we actually found out that the Thing uses his own, he finds another place of strength to take on the Hulk, who has been taken over by an evil villain, to basically headbutt the Hulk into submission. And after he's headbutted him, or before he's headbutted him rather, Hulk takes a massive swipe at his face, and just, I'm looking at it right now.
Please stop.
And
Please
all
stop
my
bringing it up.
nightmares. Just look at it.
It's really, there's something extremely fleshy about it. Is the easiest way to describe it. And it's not quite right.
Yeah, so what we thought we'd do, looking at how horrifying this is go through the worst moments of body horror in the comics medium, because there is a whole heap of nastiness, and it's usually when you least expect it. You know, you think a fight between the Hulk and the Thing, probably going to go the way you'd about expect it. A few blows exchanged and a few little cuts and bruises here and there. But no, we literally see the Hulk take off what looks to be about 4 inches of rock from the Thing, and it's just all loose. That's it, actually. That's the reason why it's so messed up. It's because you see a hollow gap between the rocks and the flesh itself. Enhance. It's really gross.
For anyone who liked the Thing, it turns out that he's just like a swollen man covered in rocks.
Not swollen. Oh god, yeah, it's just really, really gross. So, Zoe, I did ask you to go on this really gross mission. Claw through all the goo and the goop and just go through and try and find all the most horrific examples that you could find. I don't know if you've got any.
There's some real goop. There's some real bad times. Essentially, one of the most interesting things about this news is that although it's uniquely horrific, it's not an individual case. Comic heroes, as it turns out, have pretty bad track records of having really nightmarish body horror moments. So we have Spider-Man when he grew 6 arms.
Oh my god, that was in the cartoon as well, and like the 6 arms, is it the 6 arm saga what it's called? I think so, yes. In the cartoon, it's absolutely horrifying because when he becomes Man Spider, his literal entire body gets really furry like a spider's, and he gets 8 eyes, and he gets a giant pincery mouth, and he makes loads of horrid noises. Oh god, that was such a horrid time.
It's a bad time. Also made worse in the comics by the time he turns into a spider and then gives birth to himself.
He did what?
Yeah. It's sort of, for Spider-Man fans, this is probably like one of those moments that you try and repress, but Spider-Man has canonically given birth to himself at one point. I want you to think about that one.
Right, I'm thinking about it right now, and whatever image is behind me surely can't be as horrific as it actually is.
But it's also not as bad as the time Captain America became King of Spiders, and then also gave birth to spiders, because everyone in the Marvel Universe appears to have become a spider at some point.
Why did Captain America become a spider?
Just for fun, innit?
What did he look like?
Bad. A big bad spider, to answer you as specifically as I can. Literally like every superhero, like Superman in the Towers of Babel, he goes completely see-through, and that's its own special corner in my darkest moments.
The one that I really think about is the White Martian stuff with Miss Martian. And I know the whole metaphor there is, you don't want to judge Miss Martian for hiding, who she is, but also that bit in Young Justice season 1 where she reveals herself as a White Martian. She's just like 8 foot tall, and like Superboy's just down here, just like, hey
man,
how you doing? It's kind of weird.
But it's also, I think it's particularly interesting because I think it's an important trend in the sense of, although it's really, really gross to find out that the Thing has this fleshy underneath.
It's the gap. It's the little gap, because I imagine you could put your hand through it and scratch the rock, and they've got the little fleshy bit there. It's making me cringe in more ways than one.
It's important because obviously having gross heroes is nice in the sense that they can't all be perfect Tony Starks and Bruce Wayne. Sometimes you got to be saved by a man who is just a swollen human covered in a bunch of,
I mean, that's the entire, the entire tragedy of Ben Grimm is that he's the ever-loving blue-eyed thing, probably the nicest, most New York-y man that the Marvel Universe has to offer, and he's so great. But I can deal with the rocks. But look, just the bit where Alicia's like holding his face, and you just see that little bit there. It's like, oh my God, Ben, you need help. How do you even get that? What would the operation be? Do you think they'd have to get like a rock graft?
I think they'd have to get the rocks off him, and I don't want to see that ever.
Ben Grimm gets his rocks off. But anyway, let's move on to the next one, Zoe.
We've even got X-Men's Marrow, who, for fans of the X-Men, may have a little nightmare remembering that name, because Marrow's power was essentially that their bones grew out continuously, which meant had to get bones chopped off continuously. It's sort of Wolverine's adamantium claws gone terribly, terribly wrong.
Oh, that reminds me of Hellboy has the thing where it comes out of his face where he shaves them off because he shaved them off. But that sounds really traumatizing. The
whole body. The whole body. Forget rocks, bones.
Oh God, that just makes you think of wounds and grossness.
And obviously, I wanted to finish this off with a note that people who've seen Absolute Carnage may remember, in that we've recently had it revealed what the Maker, who is Fantastic Four's Reed Richards, actually looks like underneath that helmet. And I don't know if we can get it up, but oh my God, why would you do that?
The fact that he has the little bits of hair where his little xenomorph type helmet has just covered everything else. Everything else is bald, and he's got this huge mega mind brain, but it's like an alien brain. It's really gross. The Maker, why would you do this? Remember young Ultimate Reed Richards with the glasses, and he was kind of like that dorky, MIT stud that he used to be, and then he just turns into that.
Well, it's interesting because it's the one way that generally you seem to think that people can be villains. Because with Man-Bat, there's also some awful transformation scenes for him. But with that, you're like, oh, this person is hideous, so they're a villain. And it's a really terrible trend that we've had for ages.
Yeah,
so it's nice to sort of cancel that, look, it's your hero, and he looks fleshy and
I remember the Killer Croc getting more and more grotesque as the years go on. But yeah, there have also been some really gruesome wounds. This is at the end of the day, even though this is the Thing's entire deal is body horror, it's still a wound that he suffered in battle. And there is one panel, above all else, that never fails to give me nightmares, and I forget which issue it's from, but it's when Sandman goes after Spider-Man, fills him with sand till his stomach distends, and then he explodes, and it's just sand, guts, and bones all over the floor.
I asked you not to talk about that.
It makes me feel physically sick, and I'm just thinking about it right now, and I don't know if we're going to get demonetized now for just throwing all these gruesome images on, but that has to be the most disgusting thing I've ever seen in a comic. That is literally I've looked at that and I'm like, whoever came up with that is mad and evil, and I owe an apology. They owe me an apology.
But then also, it's kind of cool that you can create something where you're like, oh, this man made of rocks isn't made of rocks, and people across the world are like, what do you mean he's not made of rocks?
I feel like such an absolute idiot, because I thought that literally he was entirely rocks. I thought you'd have I thought the whole structure of the Thing was rock, but it turns out that he's flesh covered by rocky scaled things, and there's a gap between them, which means his organs are floating around inside the rocks.
Does it mean he's technically still human then? There's a lot of questions we have to ask about the thing now.
Oh, God. This is like made me feel really nauseous, actually. I've just had lunch, and now that sausage roll that I've had from Greg's is just, it's not sitting well. Yeah, I don't want to talk about any more grossness, but please let us know, what is the most grossed out you've ever been by a comic? Be it the Thing showing his little fleshy interior to us all in this week's Fantastic Four, or Sandman doing the most horrific thing possible and filling Spider-Man with sand, and it's really... Actually, there's another one, and it involves Sandman again. It's when Venom kills Sandman in J. Michael Straczynski's and John Romita Jr.'s Spider-Man. That moment gave me nightmares for years. But anyway, yeah, please let us know your thoughts down in the comments below on what you think about the Thing's actual rocky exterior hiding a fleshy, soft inside. And please be sure to like, share, and subscribe if you haven't already. And head back on over to whatculture.com/comics, where we're just going to cover this all the time now because... Ew! As always, I've been Ewan. Follow me on Twitter at Ewan Ruins Things, but don't send me your grossest comics things there. Please don't. That is not a challenge, I swear to God. And as always, I've been joined by Zoe.
And you can send me pictures of Spider-Man at Zemascale.
We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.